Good evening, Malaysia and kawasan sewaktu dengannya, and good morning, London. It's another Sense with Science Facebook Live, your sensible Sunday date. Our two previous live shows talked a lot about COVID and vaccines in layman's speak, guided by two phenomenal women in science. Tan Sri Dr. Jamila Mahmud, Special Advisor to the Prime Minister of Malaysia on Public Health, and Professor Dr. Adiba Kamarul Zaman, Infectious Diseases Specialist and Head of the Center of Excellence for Research in AIDS.
Hi, Karen. Thanks for that. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, everyone. It's really great to be back. This is Adiba and I think this is our favorite Sunday afternoon, 1 hour spent with friends around the world and also, followers of Sense with Science. So today we have decided to play a little bit of a different tone for our Sense with Science, because we have the amazing Dr. Amalina Bakri with us all the way from London to join our call today. And we thought we're going to do a little bit of a fast and furious myth-busting session. So Amalina, just in case people don't know her, which is very unlikely because she has the most followers, I think, on social media among the medical fraternity. She's a general surgeon, registrar, and a clinical research fellow at the Institute of Global Health Innovation at Global Health Innovation at Imperial College in London. So welcome, Amalina. It's great to have you here. Over to you, Prof.
Hi, Jim, and great to have Amalina on board with us this evening. But first of all, on behalf of all of us, let me apologize to our viewers for this slight delay. We had a bit of a technical problem, all sorted, and inshallah, this will not repeat, because now we learn what was the problem with our connection. So
women in science, troubleshooting. It won't happen again.
It won't happen again. So as Tan Sri Jamila said, Amalina is one of the, I think, Malaysia's most followed doctors on social media, Twitter, Facebook, IG. She has it all. Do you have TikTok as well, Amalina?
Yes, it's an amazing TikTok.
Oh, okay. I haven't ventured into that sphere. And we thought, because for the last few sessions of Sense with Science, we were quite serious, and there are still lots and lots of questions that we get asked. So today we're going to put Amalina on the spot and fire her some quick questions, because she's very quick with the thumbs on Twitter and social media, and uncover some of the myths and untruths about COVID-19, which we've all had to live with for the last 1 year, and it's only getting more and more noisy with the misinformation and disinformation, especially around the COVID vaccine, and contributing to quite a bit of vaccine hesitancy, at least here in Malaysia. I don't know what it's like in the UK, Amalina. So, are you ready?
Yes, I am ready.
Karen,
just a little aside, because we had to move Sense with Science from our usual 5 p.m. slot, because we wanted to accommodate Dr. Amalina's self-care Sunday sleep-in, from our point of view, not yours, Dr. Amalina. We're going to have to do without Dr. Jamila in a little while. She's got an important meeting that she's already scheduled. But what I love about this woman is how she starts a project, finds the most credible, dependable people, and she's totally at ease about handing it over to her trusted partners. So she's Anna Wintour with a turban, I tell you, honestly. So Dr. Jim, do you have anything to say before you vamos?
No, I'm gonna leave my computer on so I can listen. But just to say to our Sunday viewers, this has been, I think, our 6th show, right, Adiba? And we are getting really nice feedback. We also want to hear from you, so leave your comments on the Facebook page on what you want us to talk about next time. All these sessions we're running actually is from feedback we're getting. Tell us what you like, and what you don't like too, right? So we can always improve. But I'm leaving you to my very trusted Professor Adiba, Karen, and of course, Dr. Amalina, and see you all soon.
All right, Jim, have a great meeting.
Bye.
We'll see you next week. All right, so women in science, let's go. The objective is to have a no-pause stream of quick, accurate answers about the myths and blow these suckers out of the water once and for all. So the rules are this. Dr. Amalina, being our special guest, you'll have first bat at the questions. Any hesitation, Prof. Adiba will jump in and keep the ball in the air. And if something is crucial enough to warrant a deeper explanation, Prof. Adiba will step in.
Oh, you reckon?
Yeah, I reckon. I mean, you have definitely got the caliber, Prof.
Have to Google.
So amidst the prepared questions, we'll also be taking some from the viewers. So I'll monitor the group chat as well. So viewers, feel free to interact with us. Are we ready, ladies?
We are.
All right, so let's go. Question 1. COVID did not happen naturally. It was a manufactured virus planned to disrupt economies and allow China to take control of the world.
Absolutely nonsense. No, false.
Okay, I'll step in there. There was a recent delegation from WHO consisting of scientists from all over the world and Chinese scientists as well. They haven't come up with a formal report, but there's still a lot of work to be done. But I believe they concluded that, there was no hanky-panky. That's my word. WHO is not going to come up with a report that says no hanky-panky. There was no evidence of leakage from a lab or that it's manufactured. And the most likely theory is that it still jumps species from an animal to humans.
All right, question number 2.
Space.
Question number 2. COVID is just a bad flu. Stop overplaying it.
False. But I just want to give you a little bit of statistics. So based on a study published in the BMJ last year, the death rate among patients who got COVID was about 18.5%. while it was 5.3% for those with flu. So those with COVID were nearly 5 times more likely to die than flu patients. So yeah, completely not true, it's false.
Oof. All right.
Yeah, and to add to that, the flu doesn't cause long-term complications. Now more and more we're learning that perhaps as high as a third of patients who become infected with SARS-CoV-2 or get COVID-19 actually have long-term signs and symptoms. So it's like I said last time, it's not a virus to be sneezed at.
Definitely.
Under the pun.
Yep, definitely. It destroys lives and it has very long-lasting impacts, some of them which we haven't found out yet. Question number 3. Bat soup caused COVID? As long as we don't eat bats, we will be fine.
No, it's false. That's a funny one.
Can I jump in about bats? Because they're fascinating mammals, and the reason they can take to the skies is they have developed this amazing, a mammal that can take to the skies. They have developed this amazing capabilities, including a very, very strong immune system. So in fact, bats harbor a lot of viruses and are responsible, if you like, for many nasty diseases, including Ebola, our own Nipah virus, and a cousin of that, the Hendra virus, the original SARS, the MERS disease. And so they harbor these viruses that cause nasty things to us human beings, but they themselves don't get sick from it. But in terms of eating bat soup, it doesn't cause COVID. Yeah.
Okay. Kids can't catch COVID. That is why the Malaysian government opened kindergartens and primary schools first.
Well, that's false. Kids can catch COVID, but they're probably, the symptoms are probably quite mild, and most of them have no symptoms compared to older children or adults population. So they do get COVID, but it's not as bad as adults, generation.
Right. Question number 5. Masks are for sissies. Wearing masks can give you oxygen shortage and kill brain cells. I have no idea why this myth persists, you know. I think it must be something to do with people who wear masks below their, below their noses like that, you know, like a Hitler masked mustache, you know.
Absolutely false. So, I mean, a lot of healthcare professionals wear masks all the time, and it does not cause oxygen shortage or kill your brain cells. Actually, there was a study that was done that was published in the Annals of American Thoracic Society. So they looked at people who wear surgical masks while walking around, were in comparison to people who don't wear surgical masks. And they found that there was no significant change in terms of the carbon dioxide level in their breath or oxygen level in their blood. So completely not true. It doesn't affect you in any ways.
Right, question number 6. If you can hold your breath for 15 seconds, it is proof you do not have coronavirus.
So that's false again. So I think there are lots of viral WhatsApp messages we've been getting, and my mom actually received one of those as well. And my mom actually asked me that question, is this true? I was like, no, it's not true at all. So it is not true. There's no evidence that if you can hold your breath 15 seconds, then you don't have COVID.
Right. Eat enough garlic.
And remember,
oh, okay. Adiba, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, remember that people can have very little symptoms and still have COVID-19. So this test about holding your breath is if it's affected the lungs.
And so if it's already spread to the lungs, you are in deep trouble, right, Prof?
Correct.
Yeah, you're going to need a respiratory surgeon, and you're going to need to be intubated, right? So if you can't hold your breath.
I mean, that's at the extreme end. Even for those with mild, also the category 3-4 COVID, even before you need the respirator, it can quite affect the lungs quite significantly.
Okay. Eat enough garlic and vitamin C, and you'll be safe from COVID.
False. There's no evidence that garlic or vitamin C can prevent you from getting COVID. Absolutely no evidence.
And bleach is not a good idea either, right?
Bleach.
Although eat plenty of fruits and vegetables, so it's still good for your health.
Prof, what do you have to say to that?
Yeah, totally agree. And earlier in the piece, drugs like hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin were also thrown around as possible prophylaxis for COVID-19, but that has not been proven to be so.
All right. 99% of infected people survive COVID-19.
So that is a tricky question, because it depends on which country we're talking about and whether the country has a lot more older population or younger population. And we know that, COVID mostly affected, older generation more severely in comparison to the younger population. So I think based on the study that was done by Imperial College London in the UK, the fatality rate is estimated to be about 1%. So because there are lots of different factors involved, we don't know how many people have caught COVID. It depends on how many tests you do as well in the country. And so we don't know what proportion have survived and what proportion have already been infected with COVID, unless if you do mass testing, random testing of general population. So, but what I need to stress here is that COVID is not, dangerous because it kills people, but also the long-term effects from COVID. You get long COVID symptoms, which we don't really fully understand at the moment yet. So still currently under investigation. So we definitely need to make sure that we can reduce the transmission rate, preventing COVID infection, and therefore reduce the burden of the disease. Prof. Adiba, if you want to add more.
Yeah, if I can add to that, I think the case fatality rate for Malaysia is also roughly around 1%. There was a large study describing this by our colleagues from Hospital Sungai Buloh that was published in the Lancet by Dr. Ben Sim. Over 5,000 patients in the first wave of the Malaysian COVID pandemic. And so we perform, similarly to the UK. And as Amalina said, there are many factors as to the case fatality rates. One is, of course, the older population, and the other high risk factor for mortality is obesity and diabetes. In fact, there was a recent study that looked at and postulated that one of the reasons why the West actually has more deaths is because of high prevalence of obesity.
Well, Malaysia is not very far behind, Prof. We are
Correct.
a horribly obese nation. Yeah. All right. Next question. Also, Dr. Amalina, this has to come from one of your fans from Kelantan. Boleh cakap bahasa Kelantan tak? So they've asked to answer in Malay and if you can in vernacular Malay. So, COVID is the answer to population control.
Okay, just want to say that my Kecek Kelantan is not very good because I never live in Kelantan.
Mine is.
Really?
I was born in Kota Baru, but I was raised in JB, so I can speak Johor Baru. Johorian accent slang. Tak kot. No, bukan. No, the answer to your question is it's not true. Tak boleh. Sorry. But awkward.
Dr. Adiba, Prof, it's on to you now. You have to do this.
What question? Which question are we on?
COVID is the answer to population control.
I can't do this in Kelantanese because it's just too absurd. The answer is no. Yeah.
All right.
Whose answer to population control?
Any vaccine produced in under a year is bound to be unsafe.
False. So I think I actually had a long discussion with my followers on Instagram, and I've been posting a lot of things about why it took 1 year for them to create the vaccine for COVID. So there are lots of different reasons why. So first of all, the development of the mRNA vaccine and also the viral vector vaccine from Oxford, AstraZeneca, for example, did not start from scratch, but they came from many years of research using the same platform technology, from previous vaccine development. The MERS vaccine, for example, using the viral vector. For the mRNA, they've been doing a lot of research on that, on cancer research. So it's been going on for years and years. It's only just, and the reason why it just took a year because they just need to put the genetic code of that spike protein from the SARS-CoV-2 virus and then create the vaccine itself. So that's why it took, it didn't take that long. And secondly, because there's a huge amount of funding and resources available for us to produce the vaccine. And so we can do multiple phase of trials happen at the same time in parallel with the clinical trials on different manufacturers and different companies. And also there's a worldwide collaboration and data sharing between scientists, different organizations. So everyone just wanted to work together to produce the vaccine because it is a pandemic and everyone just wants to make sure we can come up from the pandemic. So a lot of scientists and a lot of different specialists working together in order for us to be able to create the vaccine that we need. And also in the clinical trial itself, so I was actually involved in recruiting patients for the Oxford trial at Imperial College London. And we also in Imperial, we came up with our own vaccine as well, under Professor Robin Shattock. So I was involved in recruiting those patients. So because of the fact that it's a pandemic, it is easier for us to recruit participants because there's very high desire, in terms of public support to help and to participate in the trial to make sure that we can, develop and test the vaccine really quickly. And also finally, because there is a rolling review by the authorities, meaning that information is released to the regulators as it was acquired, rather than the usual, 6 months, as the data is often delivered to the regulatory agencies in one go. So everyone just wanted to make sure that we can do it as quickly as possible, as swiftly as possible, so there's not much bureaucracy involved. So that's the reason why it's just taking so 1 year to be able to develop the vaccine. Prophet Eva, if you want to add more to that.
Perfect. I think you've given all the perfect answers to why it's been, one of modern medicine's miracles that we have this vaccine in less than a year. Yeah. Just to add, I guess, on a slightly different tangent, the reason, of course, everybody's very worried about the safety, and you hear of the side effects, etc., which gets amplified because, don't forget, millions and millions of people are being vaccinated at the same time, and there's a lot of attention given to the side effects, and so every little signal, every little complication gets amplified, and I think, and plus news travels so fast these days with social media, the generation of news and concern just gets amplified. Whereas, if it's looked at, the side effects are looked at very objectively, many have just turned out to be no more than what is expected in a normal population.
Next question. Setiap vaksin COVID mempunyai microchip yang tertanam di dalamnya untuk mengesan semua orang di planet ini.
Tak betul. I've had 2 doses of the vaccine so far. I've had a Pfizer vaccine. So my last dose was about a few weeks ago, actually. I can reassure you that there is no microchip. I'm not being controlled by Bill Gates currently. I am my own person, and so I'm not being controlled, not being tracked. And also, just if they want to track you, they can just use your mobile phone data to be able to do that. They don't need to inject you with vaccine to be able to track what you're doing and control you. So that is nonsense.
Yeah, saya pun will receive my second dose of Pfizer vaccine besok hari pukul 11. And I can tell you that I haven't also been injected with a microchip from Bill Gates. It is a liquid. I don't know how you would be able to insert a microchip in a tiny bit of liquid, 0.3 whatever mils of liquid that they inject into us. Yeah.
I think we're talking about nanochip, but there was a research. I think I had a look in the paper, one of the bioengineering research. They did research on a nano robot, but that is still in a prototype, and it's not currently being used in clinical practice, and it's still currently under investigation. So there's no way they could produce that. And to put into a vaccine so that we can track people. So there's no way they can do that now. Maybe in 10 years' time, I don't know. Not now.
But as you said, they're already doing that whenever we turn on our phones.
Correct.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you use Waze and everybody knows where you are, right?
Checking in on Instagram and everything, people know where you are.
Yes, exactly. You do a check-in on Facebook, everybody knows where you are. All right, so next question. The Chinese vaccines are the worst as they contain mind control drugs that will allow China to take over the world. Geez, China's already taken over the world. All our products get shipped from China if you buy from Shopee, right?
Why do you like to blame China all the time? Anyway, so that is absolutely diabolical. So any vaccines produced need to go through a similar process of phase 1 to 3 trials, and need to go through the same checks, regulatory checks. So it doesn't matter where they come from, whether from China, from the US, or anywhere. If the vaccine is approved by the authority, I would take the vaccine.
All right. People faint after getting the COVID vaccine. This is proof that it is poisonous.
Well, it is not poisonous, but some people did faint after getting the vaccine, but that's not because it's poisonous, but that's because of what we call vasovagal response. So some people may have, needle phobia, or they may not, have, eaten something before they go for the vaccine injection. So it happens quite commonly in the hospital, but especially I'm a surgeon and I see a lot of patients having surgical procedures done, and some patients are scared or anxious when they come into the hospital to have any surgical procedures done. So some people faint, and so it happens. But it's not severe to your health. It's just temporarily, and you will get better. So there are a few things that you can do to prevent you from fainting. So first of all, so that's why when you come in for the vaccine injection, you will be asked to sit down. And then once you get the vaccine, then you'll be asked to sit down for 15 minutes for observation. And also it is advisable for you to eat and drink before you have the vaccine done as well. So then you don't come in with an empty stomach. And just try to relax and come in, and if you're worried with the needle or scared of the needle, then just speak to the nurses, the doctors who are doing your vaccine injection, explain to them, and hopefully they'll be able to reassure you.
I don't like needles, Dr. Amalina. They freak me out. I will take the vaccine in order to protect my community and my family.
Yeah.
Next question. Kesan buruk dari vaksin tidak dilaporkan di media kerana media tidak mau menimbulkan rasa panik.
So again, that is false, because all the information about vaccine side effects are in the public domain. So you can, have a look, all the documents from CDC, from FDA, from all the regulatory organization, and also from the vaccine manufacturers themselves. And healthcare professionals and scientists have been repeatedly discussing about vaccine side effects, and you have seen on the media many reports about the side effects as well, and there are lots of fear mongerings on the media too. So that's not true. It's not been covered up in any ways, and we talk about it openly.
I mean, the most recent examples, of course, the thrombosis associated with the AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine. I mean, that's been very, very openly dissected and discussed. So this don't cover up. Mm-hmm.
All right. The vaccines make women infertile and men sterile. They're used as forced population control.
Where is this forced population control thing coming from? I'm
Isn't that one of the, I don't know, they keep on talking about the Freemason agenda.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's probably come from that. But yeah, no, absolutely not true. False. Not true.
Yeah, there's nothing in the vaccine manufacturing process that will do that. Yeah.
So men suffer from erectile dysfunction after getting the vaccine. That is why the company that manufactures the leading vaccine also makes Viagra.
But they trust Pfizer for their Viagra tablets. They don't trust Pfizer for the vaccine.
That's a really good point, Dr. Amalina.
Yeah. I think there's a meme going around with that, comparing between the Viagra and also the vaccine. So no, it's completely false. There's no evidence whatsoever.
Right. And I'm I have no allegiance to Pfizer whatsoever. But Pfizer also makes a lot of other medications, just so that people know, including life-saving antibiotics and antifungals. So, yeah.
Right. So the weakness from the vaccination site will travel and numb the whole body in days.
So I wouldn't describe it that way. So you may feel heavy arm, sore arm for a few days. Some people may have muscle ache and joint pains and fatigue, but the side effects are temporary and they will go away. So and different people also react differently to the vaccine as well. And the most common side effects are the ones that's very temporary and mild. So do not be worried about having severe side effects.
Did you have any, Amalina?
I actually had a little bit of sore arm for a couple of days, and then completely fine. I didn't have anything, fever or anything like that. I was able to go back to my normal routine. I was back to doing on-call work the next day. So yeah, it was fine for me.
Some said the second dose is worse. So did you have any?
So second dose, actually, I didn't feel anything. I didn't have any side effects. It was just a bit of a prick on the arm on the first day, maybe a little bit painful, and on the day, and then after that I was fine.
Perhaps because I'm older than you, I did have some achy, but funnily enough, on the other arm, to the one that I was injected at. But I just felt very tired and very sleepy for 2 days. So we'll see how it goes tomorrow. So hopefully I'm as lucky as you and don't notice anything with the second dose.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, I hope you're back to your normal bubbly self, but you can't tell, honestly, Prof. You know, you seem completely yourself today. Anyway, you're still on fire, on the ball. You know, good save, seriously. So next question. Kesan sampingan dari vaksin adalah sangat teruk sehingga lebih baik mendapatkan COVID.
I think I saw a viral video about this on Facebook. False. The complications of getting COVID infection is far, far, far more severe than the side effects from getting the vaccine. And that's all we can say from the statistics as well. So yeah, so it's false.
So if you
the most serious side effects, the one that everyone's fearing, the anaphylactic reaction from the mRNA vaccines, the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccine, it's something like 4 in a million, and it's higher in people who have a previous history of allergic reaction. So you must tell your doctors or your vaccine center that you do have an allergy, especially the anaphylactic reactions, and all precautions have been taken. For instance, at UMMC, where we're doing the vaccination, those with no history of allergies, we will watch you for 15 minutes after you've been injected. Those with a history of allergies, we will watch you for half an hour after you've been injected, because that's the period of time where if you are going to get a side effect, the so-called anaphylactic reaction, where you might swell up and have difficulty breathing and your blood pressure drops, will happen within those first 30 minutes or so. And there's doctors and nurses to watch you, and if that happens, we will give you the adrenaline injection. So, but remember, it's like 4 or even less now. I think it's gone down to about 2 in a million COVID. The vaccination, the Pfizer vaccine. Whereas, we still have today. I'm not sure. Someone's just texted to say that the numbers are rising again in Malaysia. The risk of getting COVID is very real, and as I've said before, I look after patients with COVID-19. It's not pleasant. Yes, the majority have mild symptoms, but if you're one of those who are going to develop complications, it's not, it's not pleasant. You could end up in ICU. You could end up on oxygen for a long time. It could do serious damage to your lungs. So here's something that we can give you to protect you from getting severe disease. Please, please do take the vaccine. And for the other non-mRNA technology vaccines, they don't have the same risk of the anaphylactic reaction. So the Sinovac vaccine that is now available in Malaysia, the AstraZeneca vaccine, but that's coming later. That has a, we still need to understand what's going on there with the recent reports. Yeah,
there's a fight in the EU at the moment with regards to the AstraZeneca vaccine. But the reports from the European Medicine Regulatory Organization said that there is no link with the between the vaccine and the blood clots, and the rate of having blood clots is the same as general population, so there's no link whatsoever.
Yeah.
Next question. If you've tested positive for COVID, you do not need a vaccine as you will have already developed immunity.
So that's false. We still don't know, you don't have enough data at the moment about how long, the natural immunity can last for. It may last for 6 months, and there is insufficient data to suggest that. So there are also cases of reinfection after the first infection. So you still need to get the vaccine to protect yourself and other people around you so that we can achieve herd immunity.
Dr. Adiba, do you have a
No,
comment
nothing
on that
to
one?
add. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. Next question. The vaccine is not halal, kosher, or religiously correct as it uses pig products and placenta from aborted babies.
False. Absolutely false. For the Pfizer vaccine, for example, there's no, no animal products, no placenta, no nothing. It's all purely sugar, salt, fat, fatty lipids, and also the mRNA sequence. So no, we don't have any of those things.
Okay, so there are no religious grounds on which to refuse the vaccine.
Yeah, and I think all major religious associations and bodies and fatwas have given it the National Fatwa Council in Malaysia has given it the go-ahead.
Okay, one more question, still following up on this one. Toksin yang tidak selamat membentuk sebahagian besar ramuan vaksin COVID.
So yeah, no, false. So I'll just give you examples of Pfizer vaccine because I'm familiar with that. So Pfizer vaccine has the active ingredient of mRNA, which is a synthetic coding for the spike protein used by the SARS-CoV-2 virus to infect the cells. So that's one ingredient. And then fatty lipids, so that's fat. So the reason that we have fat in the vaccine is to deliver the RNA and also protects the RNA from being destroyed because RNA is unstable in the human environment. And also thirdly, there is salt. So salt stabilizes the pH of the vaccine, and so that it matches the pH in our bodies. And then finally, we also have sugar. So sugar to make sure that the fat, doesn't get too sticky at extremely cold temperatures. So those are the main ingredients of Pfizer vaccine, and there's no toxic ingredients as what you mentioned.
Next question. The vaccine is a way to make pharmaceutical companies rich because they will tell you booster shots are needed yearly and governments will only fund the first 2 shots.
That is controversial. I'll let Prof. Adiba answer that question.
Yeah, so I don't think that, again, I'm not here to defend pharmaceutical companies, but the prime objective of the vaccines was to bring this pandemic to an end and also to reduce the number of people who get sick and who reduce the number of hospitalizations and most importantly reduce the number of deaths, right? So the race to find a vaccine, to develop the vaccine was all about this. The havoc, that the pandemic has caused necessitated us to do this, right? So the clinical trials were designed to show that the vaccine will reduce deaths and hospitalization and severe disease. And the Pfizer vaccine, not the Pfizer, the mRNA vaccines have shown that, the efficacy of these vaccines to do that is more than 90%. With the others, it's 80 and so forth and so forth. But whilst the vaccines are being rolled out, we now have the problem of the virus mutating because we can't roll the vaccine out fast enough to achieve global herd immunity, right? So that this virus, like many coronaviruses, mutates. And so what we're seeing is that when the vaccines were designed, it was for the SARS-CoV-2 virus with a certain genetic makeup. Now the virus has mutated, and the vaccine will need to be re-engineered in a way to cater for these variants. Now that's no different from the flu vaccine, right? The flu vaccine has to be, because of the antigenic shift and drift that happens with the flu normally, every year, you know, the flu vaccine needs to be for want of a better word, re-engineered and change the composition of the vaccine a little bit. So I don't think the people who designed these vaccines deliberately developed vaccines that were not as good. In fact, these vaccines with 90% efficacy is damn good, you know. It's just that nature, i.e. the virus, is much smarter than us, and so we will have to keep up with it, and hence the need for possible need for the yearly booster. We don't know, because you know the vaccines have only been rolled out at best 3 months, and we don't know how long the immunity lasts for yet.
Prof. Adiba, you had a really good session with the Catholic community about speaking about vaccines and about the rollout and things to do with vaccine hesitancy, you know. And again, the question still continues, even though we've asked the question before. There's still another question on Facebook now that says, confirm that the vaccines do not contain aborted fetuses. Can you throw some light about why there seems to be this urban myth or legend that exists about aborted fetuses, specifically as an ingredient to these vaccines?
I think years ago, there were some vaccines that were, you know, developed from human embryo, not aborted fetuses. Yeah, so you know, that urban myth continues. Yeah, but certainly these vaccines are not derived from aborted human embryo fetuses. Yeah.
Did you ever get a question like that, Amalina, in the UK? Or do you have the same concerns? I'm very curious as to whether the concerns in the UK mirror the same concerns that Malaysia faces.
I personally haven't encountered such issues, but I think, you know, there's still a minority group of people in the UK. You know, it's not just religious people in Malaysia, but also, I mean, a lot of religious people in the UK as well, and in the Christian community, and lots of Muslim as well, and they do probably have that similar concerns, probably not as I would say amplified on the media, but probably on social media you will see some of those comments and concerns. But I personally haven't dealt with it.
All right. Okay, this one is a real banger, sent to me by a friend who's watching, whose mother is also watching with her, and her mother is 80 years old, and the mother said, "Orang tua mati setelah diberi vaksin." So she is very worried. Adiba, could you do this in Malay, please? Because I think my friend's mother needs to hear this in Malay.
Okay. So sememangnya orang yang berumur lebih daripada 60 tahun, I don't know, my brain is, I need to switch.
All right.
Actually, the risiko untuk mendapat jangkitan COVID yang serius lebih kepada orang yang berumur 60 tahun ke atas, right? So jika puan berumur lebih daripada 60 tahun ke atas, in fact, kami mengesyorkan supaya puan diberikan vaksin secepat mungkin, sebab the risk untuk mendapat COVID di paru-paru dan di organ-organ lain sangatlah tinggi, lebih daripada mereka yang berumur 60 tahun, kurang daripada 60 tahun. tambahan lagi sekiranya puan juga ada penyakit kencing manis, darah tinggi dan sebagainya. The question, orang yang berumur 80 tahun ke atas meninggal selepas diberi vaksin, sebenarnya di UK dan juga di US, bila mereka mula roll out the vaccine for the very reason that they wanted to protect the elderly, oleh kerana mereka berisiko tinggi untuk mendapat jangkitan COVID yang serius, they went out and vaccinated mereka yang berumur 80 tahun, 90 tahun di nursing homes. And these people were already at risk of dying, yeah, sebab many were in nursing homes, were already in bad conditions. So there was no, so bila disiasat, kematian ini disiasat, ia tidak disebabkan oleh vaksin. Sebenarnya mereka were already going to die anyway, because these are the really elderly people in nursing homes that yang, you know, were already terminal, if you like. So that is the story behind you know, orang-orang tua meninggal kerana diberi vaksin. Sebenarnya they were already at risk of dying because they're 90 and above and in nursing homes.
Dan saya nak
in UK, Amalina.
Ya, saya nak tambah satu perkara. Di UK sekarang ni lebih kurang 28 juta orang sudah mendapat vaksin COVID, at least dos pertama. Dan memang vaksinasi program di UK dibuat secara berperingkat seperti yang Prof Adiba cakap. Mereka yang berumur 80 tahun ke atas diberi prioriti pertama dahulu. Mereka yang berada di nursing home dan juga frontliner workers, so healthcare workers, healthcare professionals. Kemudian berperingkat secara berperingkat 80 tahun, 70 tahun, 60 tahun, 50 tahun ke atas. Dan sampai sekarang ni lebih kurang separuh daripada population orang dewasa telah mendapat vaksin COVID, dan sekarang ini the plan is untuk memastikan semua orang dewasa di UK mendapat vaksin pada bulan Julai. Dan so seperti yang Prof Adiba cakap, kebanyakan mereka yang mendapat vaksin ini adalah golongan-golongan orang tua yang juga mempunyai penyakit lain seperti diabetes, darah tinggi, obesity, dan ini menyebabkan mereka berada di dalam golongan risiko yang tinggi untuk mati disebabkan sebab-sebab yang lain. Jadi there is coincidental effect yang orang ingat sebab dapat vaksin, sebab itulah mereka mati. Tapi telah dibuat kajian bahawa kematian ini tidak ada kaitan langsung pun dengan vaksin, tetapi mereka mati disebabkan contohnya heart attack ataupun sebab-sebab yang lain yang tidak ada kaitan dengan vaksin tersebut.
Awesome, thank you so much. I think that really helped. Thanks, Amalina. Thank you, Adiba. Next question: the vaccines will alter our DNA.
So vaksin tidak alter your DNA, so it gives instruction to your body to produce spike proteins, is what we talk about. So pepaku protein ini yang berada di permukaan virus SARS-CoV-2 virus ini. So cara SARS-CoV-2 virus ini masuk ke dalam body kita adalah dengan menggunakan pepaku protein, dan cara mereka untuk infect the cells. Tapi the vaccine itself doesn't alter your DNA. It's just giving the instructions to your body to produce the spike proteins, and then your body akan identify the spike proteins as foreign bodies. So when you identify them as foreign bodies, then you produce antibodies against the spike proteins. So mRNA vaksin ini tak berada lama di dalam badan kita sebab ianya unstable. So mRNA vaksin sendiri akan disintegrate in our body, and tak akan berada lama dalam badan, akan terus be removed from the system.
Next question: over time, more people will die from the after effects of the vaccine than COVID itself?
No. No. So the reason why we want to vaccinate people is to achieve herd immunity and to prevent transmission rate, to prevent COVID infection. So it's not to reduce the population or control the population. I think I don't know what's the current death rate from COVID itself. I think it's about almost 3 million people worldwide, I think. Yeah, so we want to reduce that rate of that death rate. So that's the reason why we want to try to achieve herd immunity and reduce the transmission rate and reduce infection rate. So based on the studies, the real world data that we have from Israel, from the UK, that the vaccine can effectively reduce hospitalization, reduce the death rate, and also reduce transmission rate as well. So based on the latest study from University of Cambridge. So vaccine works. And so we all need to do our, we all need to be responsible to protect ourselves, and also not only for ourselves, but also to protect others around you as well.
So Karen, if I can jump on that point, I'm just looking at the stats, right? Coronavirus cases worldwide, 123.5 million. Deaths, 2.7 million. Recovered, 99 million. So that's a lot of deaths. And remember, we were talking about the long-term side effects as well, which should be factored into this. The US alone has vaccinated 100 million people.
Correct.
And the UK, how many did you say?
28.
So how many?
28.
28 million. Yeah. So, the number of deaths from the vaccine, and particularly the ones that, patients have been followed up very, very closely, and for the most part, all the cases that have been reported, they have shown no link to the vaccine. And on top of that, the vaccines have been shown to reduce the death rates. So, yeah, totally false.
Absolutely. So another question. The Pfizer vaccine makes people develop Bell's palsy, a paralysis of the facial muscles. Amalina, have you ever experienced something like this in clinical trials or anything pertaining to the vaccinations?
So not in, I was recruiting patients in Imperial College facilities, so not in that sort of group. But I know, based on the data that we have, some people in the Pfizer vaccine trials did get Bell's palsy. But it's no more than what we would normally expect by chance in normal general population. I think based on the data that we have, the rate is very, very rare. It's about 9 out of 100,000 cases in the Pfizer trial. And if you look at the baseline rate for Bell's palsy in general population, it's about 23 to 35 per 100,000 per year. So with the vaccine, your risk of getting Bell's palsy is no more than getting it in general population. So there's no link.
All right. Obese people can die from the vaccine because of severe anaphylactic reactions.
So obese people can die from COVID. Sorry, obese people can die from COVID-19 rather than from anaphylactic reaction from the vaccine.
Exactly. And I mean, anyone can get anaphylactic reaction, not only obese people, but like Prof. Adiba already explained, that the risk of anaphylactic reaction is very, very rare, and no one have died from anaphylactic reaction due to COVID vaccine because it is treatable. So that's why we do observation for 15 minutes, 30 minutes after the vaccination to make sure that we can monitor those patients. And then if they do get some anaphylactic reactions, then the healthcare professionals will be able to treat them. It is very, very rare, and we've vaccinated millions of people around the world now. So yeah, don't be scared to be vaccinated because of, you know, the risk of anaphylactic reaction.
A good Facebook question here. People say that the Ministry of Health alters the data in all deaths of, which have to do with the COVID vaccine. They call the causative effects as heart attacks, etc. But none of them are COVID-related deaths. It purposely wants people to get the vaccine and to track people.
I'll let Prof. Adiba answer that question.
I think there was, this is probably in relation to the unfortunate incident where a nurse died some days after she was vaccinated. And
Correct.
the cause of death has been established as a heart attack. So I don't think there was any link to the COVID vaccine at all. And Ministry of Health is not altering data.
I agree with you there, Prof. I think just today I saw a Twitter feed from Kari Jamaluddin, who actually called out the Malay press who reported that particular incident, and he called it a blatantly misleading headline, which was very, very grievous in error and detracting from the true sense of the story, because the person did pass away, unfortunately, but to all extents and purposes, there was no implication of the vaccine having caused the death. While we sympathize, we also know that there is a very, very big call for medical professionals and scientists to actually get it out there that being vaccinated does not make us zombies. Being vaccinated does not make the government give the government a way to track us even better than they are already tracking them, right? Yeah. All right, so question, if 70% of the population take the vaccine, that means I do not have to.
Well, if everyone thinks that way, then we'll never be able to achieve herd immunity. So everyone must play their role. Like I mentioned, that they should be taking the jab once they're offered the jab. So please just, if you get the appointment, turn up to your appointment and get the jab. Don't think about, oh, I'll just wait and see what happens. Or let's just let other people do the vaccination first until they get 70% and I don't have to go and get it. Everyone must, you know, whenever, if they're offered the vaccine, go and get it.
Natural immunity is better than immunity through vaccination, Dr. Amalina.
False. So, you know, like I mentioned, we don't know how long natural immunity will last for, and we were still currently investigating, you know, the profile, the immunity profile of vaccine, and also the immunity profile of people who, you know, who've already been infected with COVID. So we do need to make sure that, you know, most people get vaccinated so that we can achieve that herd immunity. So say that natural immunity is better than immunity through vaccination is completely false.
Prof. Adiba, this question is for you from Facebook. If COVID-19 can mutate to become more dangerous, can it also mutate to become a less dangerous or a weaker strain?
So what we know about the mutations of this current SARS-CoV-2 virus is one, particularly the B117 or the British strain, is more, it's more transmissible. That means it's more infectious. It may not necessarily be more dangerous in terms of causing more severe disease. The B11, I'm not very good with numbers. The South African strain. So we've been, you know, we shouldn't be naming them according to the country, but that one also, you know, it's proving to be a little bit more difficult in terms of its, you know, the vaccines being able, with people infected, you know, with those causing less, you know, the vaccines being more efficacious, if you like. So the concern is if it continues to mutate, that, you know, you're going to get virus that's even more easily transmissible, or that can cause more severe disease, or the vaccines are not going to work as well. But yes, we can also opt to be optimistic and that it could potentially mutate into something that is less transmissible or less severe. Now, remember we had the SARS-CoV, the original SARS. Well, for various reasons, one of which is it causes a higher degree of mortality, and therefore, and it didn't have this asymptomatic phase. But the SARS-1 virus just disappeared as well, kind of. The MERS virus, which is also a coronavirus, is still present and still endemic in certain places. But yes, viruses can do strange and wonderful things. So yeah, that's why it's very important for the scientific community and to keep an eye on this, on the molecular epidemiology of the virus and how it mutates, and to track it for reasons mentioned, but also to design future vaccines.
Just following on that, on what you explained, Adiba. So does that mean if I take the vaccine for COVID, but I get, say, the South African strain, would the vaccine in a way help me not get the South African strain as badly as I would if I had not been vaccinated with any kind of COVID vaccine at all?
Yeah. I think it will still have some protective immunity, but if let's say compared to getting the run-of-the-mill strain that's circulating in Malaysia, for instance, the vaccine will work better compared to let's say a strain for which the vaccine makeup was not specifically designed for. But you will still get immunity, but probably not as complete as if you were infected with a non-mutant strain.
Okay, on board.
Amalina, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, just to add one thing. So with regards to if there are a lot of variants, mutations, and whether the vaccine is going to work. So a few institutions, especially Imperial College with Professor Shattuck, has already started the investigation to look into producing vaccines against the new variant. So if, say, if the current vaccines that we have now don't work against the new variant, so we'll be able to, address those issues later on. I think they're planning to finish doing that in September later this year, I think. So that is a good news.
All right, we're entering into the home run here. The final stretch, five questions left. Once the majority of the population is vaccinated, life will return to normal. True or false?
Well, true. That's our hope, and because that's our way out of this. But we still need to make sure, even though we start vaccinating people, we still need to follow the COVID guidelines, because currently we don't really have sufficient evidence to say that we don't need to wear masks and we don't need to be following social distancing and etc. So we still need to be following all this COVID guidance while we have the vaccine rollout program. And in the UK, for example, because we have we started the vaccination program at the end of last year. And now there is a plan way out of lockdown that's being launched by the UK government. So the plan is to sort of come off slowly while we have the vaccination program continue throughout the period. And the plan is hopefully by June, I think 21st of June, then people will be able to, socialize as normal, and businesses and shops will be able to return to, normal activities, and people will be able to go back to international travels and, things like that. So, but, based on evidence that we have now, vaccine in a real world setting, does reduce the death rates, the hospitalization rate, and reduce the transmission rate based on the early data that we have. But we just need to continue doing what we're doing, following the COVID guidance until we have enough evidence to say, okay, now we don't have to wear masks, we don't have to follow social distancing, we don't have to do this anymore. Then we can say, okay, now it's time for us to go back to normal life again.
Okay. The vaccines are given only to adults because governments do not want to jeopardize the next generation. A lot of conspiracy theories.
Yeah, lots of conspiracy theories.
False. So the reason why kids can't take COVID vaccine now, because the clinical trials did not do the studies on children, on kids. So we don't have data to support that. At present, we can routinely recommend COVID vaccine for children, but clinical trials are currently being carried out on children, and hopefully we'll be able to find the results from that trial soon, and so that we'll be able to then start vaccinating children as well.
And if I can add to that, the main objective is to reduce the number of deaths, to reduce severe disease and hospitalization, and by far adults at more risk of getting all this severe disease than children. Not to minimize, the consequences of children getting infected and transmitting to adults and so forth. But, the urgency is really to get the vaccine into adults all over the world for those objectives that I've mentioned. And we have a problem with production as well. So that's why right now the global focus is on adults, aside from the fact that clinical trials were not done with children.
Following on your last comment, Professor Adiba, if the supply chain is disrupted and a person does not get the second booster shot in the stipulated time, and this is strange because I've heard people say that with some vaccines you have to do it 14 days after the first shot for your second, and while there are others like the Johnson & Johnson, which allows for as many as 43 days to pass before the second shot, if they don't get the second booster shot in the stipulated time, will they need to get the first dose once more?
So by way of correction, the Johnson & Johnson is the one
that's a one shot, right?
One shot.
Yes, yeah. It is. Yes, it is. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yes, it
no, that's okay. So the interval between the first and second shots have been determined through all these various clinical trials, and as much as we can, we should stick to the results and the way that the vaccines were given according during the clinical trials when they were performed. If there is an extension or there are delays to giving the second dose, I think the maximum would be 6 to 8 weeks. I think Britain is doing something that's not really conventional, because they're trying to get as many first dose into people as usual. But as much as possible, we should stick to the vaccine schedule. If if there is a delay, I don't think we should go back to a first dose, i.e. getting 3 doses. That's certainly not what's recommended. If the results from all this rollout, in terms of if vaccine effectiveness, even with the first dose, we're seeing 50% protection or more.
If I can just add, if I may. So I think the UK government decided to delay the second dose at least at 12 weeks after the first dose. So based on the data that they have, so for the AstraZeneca vaccine, for example, so the studies showed that a longer gap between doses had been shown to improve efficacy in some age groups. So that's the reason why they sort of delayed it to 12 weeks. But for the Pfizer vaccine, there's no evidence from the study itself, but they did an extrapolation of data based on the study that Pfizer did from phase 3 trial data showing that efficacy of 89%, between 15 to 21 days after the first dose. So that's the reason why they decided to then delayed the second dose to at least 12 weeks after the first dose. But there are also some concerns about, whether the delaying the second dose is a good idea, especially for our older population receiving Pfizer vaccine, because there are some studies showing that after the first dose, the efficacy is about 57% for older population and rising to about 85% after the second dose. So there are some discussions and debates about that. But currently in the UK, the second dose is delayed to up to 12 weeks after the first dose. But which means that a lot more people, getting vaccinated within that short period of time, receiving one dose, and then after that second dose is a little bit delayed.
I can definitely see the sense in that. I understand the rationale behind that. Yeah. All right, final question. Poorer nations will get the cheaper vaccine, which are less effective, while richer countries will get the better ones.
I'll let Prof. Adiba answer that question.
Thank you, Amalina. I think, yes, even before we talk about poorer nations getting less effective vaccines or not, the truth is the poorer nations are not getting vaccines full stop at the moment. There is huge inequalities in terms of the vaccine rollout program. I think, even in Asia, many countries are still not rolling out as quickly as we should be. Many countries in sub-Saharan Africa or Africa as a whole are not getting vaccines as yet. So, let's not even talk about the different types of vaccines. They're not even getting vaccines full stop, so much so that WHO has this campaign to ensure that, within the first 100 days, I think it's called, we must ensure that healthcare workers all over the world get vaccinated. And I'm not sure how close we are to achieving those goals. So yes, the vaccine inequality issue is a huge issue. It's disappointing. Despite most world leaders, or at least within most global health leaders, anticipated that this was going to happen, and hence the creation of the COVAX facilities. We're seeing a lot of nationalism and countries going, I will vaccinate my people first. On the one hand, it's understandable, but on the other, no one, as the slogan says, no one is safe until everybody is safe. Yesterday, one of my dear colleagues, Professor Michelle Katzkin, was quoted as saying, from in New York Times, a very famous comment from Jonas Salk when he discovered the polio vaccine. And when he was asked, aren't you going to patent this vaccine? And his response was, how can you patent the sun? And so, yes, if we are truly, if we truly believe that this, no one is safe until everyone is safe, there needs to be better effort at rolling out these vaccines. And yes, there are differences in terms of the efficacy, but anything that's above 50% is worth having in the arm.
Would you like to wrap that up, Amalina?
Yes, so thank you so much, Karen and Prof. Adiba and Tan Sri Dr. Jamila, for having me today. It's been a pleasure to be here, and especially with inspiring women that we have today in our session. So, I mean, the take-home message that we can, take from today's session is that always make sure that you double check all the information that you see on social media or anywhere at all, and don't share any information without knowing whether it's the truth or is it false. People can easily just forward messages on WhatsApp or just reshare everything on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram without thinking of the effects that they would do to public health and for us to be able to curb or handle the pandemic. So we all should play our part and always check with credible sources, ask questions to the scientists, healthcare professionals, specialists in the area, and of any issues that you're not sure about, and always don't share if you're not sure about anything. That's the only thing that I want to stress right now. Just make sure that you don't share anything that you're not sure about.
I like that. Don't share if you're unsure of the source of the information or you cannot yourself verify that information. We had 35 questions. We had an additional few questions from the floor and from the cyber universe. And we gave you an hour, Amalina, and we only ran over about 16 minutes, which was pretty good compared, considering how we women can talk, right? I really hope our viewers now have a better understanding of where the science is coming from and how scientists view the need for vaccination and COVID education. And most importantly to our viewers, we need you to speak up and become truth bearers to your family and your friends. Adiba, if you can just wrap this up for us and end Sunday.
Sure, Karen. Thank you very much. And thank you, Amalina, for joining us and sharing with us your thoughts on some of these myths and your own experience in terms of vaccine rollout in the UK. Now, I only have two pleas or one plea, as someone who has to look after people who get infected with COVID-19, please get yourselves vaccinated because, it is not a nice disease to get. And I say it over and over again, especially if you're over 60, if you are overweight, if you have diabetes, if you have hypertension. So do yourselves a favor and get yourselves vaccinated. Yes, there are side effects, but most of them are mild. And for those, the more severe side effects, we are fully ready for those of you who have allergies and anaphylactic reaction to combat the side effects that may occur. And secondly, if we want to return to some semblance of normality, that's another reason why you need to get yourself vaccinated. There was a question, well, if we can reach 70%, then I'm going to be selfish and I don't need to be vaccinated because I might be the one in, the 2 in 1 million who might get the anaphylactic reactions. As Amalina pointed out, if each and every one of us think that way, then we will never reach the desired number of people who need to be vaccinated. So please don't be selfish, but most of all, please look after yourselves and get yourself vaccinated so you don't get ill with COVID-19. So thank you very much, Karen.
All right, ladies, thank you very much. This has been Science, our Facebook Live. Join us next week, 5 p.m. as normal. We hope you have a healthy, great week ahead. Take care, everybody, and thank you for being here. Goodbye.
Bye.